Hello and welcome to Seidr Soul Sailing. I'm Victoria Stensøy.
I'm Darwin Holmstrom.
And this week's tarot reading focuses on the fate of the US dollar. We decided to do this reading because President Biden recently threatened Saudi Arabia not to join BRICS. If they disobey, the petrodollar is dead. Since the entire central banking system is built on the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, the future of the banking system depends on Saudi Arabia obeying Biden's dictate.
We created a birth chart for the Federal Reserve note, the US dollar, based on the date Woodrow Wilson signed the Owen Glass Act creating the Federal Reserve. Right now, Pluto is in exact opposition to the dollar's natal Neptune. This captures what we're all going through as the dollar implodes. Under this transit, people feel helpless and unable to achieve their dreams. They're on the verge of giving up. Money has become our god. We only value what's important in our lives by how many dollars it's worth. Because of this, the death of the dollar can feel like God has died.
So Pluto is a wrecking ball that destroys old structures to clear space for new structures. And with Pluto retrograde to 0 degrees, 23 minutes off exact, and its opposition to the dollar's natal Neptune, and stationed there between October 3rd through October 21st of this year. This could be when we see Saudi Arabia disobey Biden's dictate and join BRICS. If that happens, we're in for a wild ride. So to begin with, we got our signifier, which is the Hermit. And although the Hermit isn't a negative omen per se, it can actually be very positive for people that need to do some introspection work. This card as a signifier in this case also speaks of isolation and withdrawal. So there is a shadow side to the Hermit card, and in this case the dollar is being secretive and has really isolated itself and removed itself from the gold standard.
The Hermit card's the perfect signifier for the dollar because the United States has isolated itself from the rest of the world. Countries are beginning to shun the US dollar, the world's reserve currency. This isn't something the world wants to do. The fiat currency-based economic system depends on the US dollar for purchasing oil. Half a century ago, President Nixon disconnected the value of the dollar from the price of gold and engineered an agreement with Saudi Arabia to only sell oil using US dollars. This created the petrodollar. If the value of the petrodollar plunges, oil becomes prohibitively expensive, destroying the world's economy. This status quo began to unwind a few years ago when China created BRICS, its own trading bloc. Now Saudi Arabia is negotiating to join BRICS, which requires them to abandon the petrodollar. President Biden recently warned Saudi Arabia not to join BRICS. If Saudi Arabia disobeys this dictate, it means that the US dollar has been isolated from the world's economy.
For our overall situation, we got the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords represents trying to get away with something. And right now the people in charge are being sneaky and trying to get away with the fact that they made up a currency that's just paper and monopoly money.
There's still some unfinished business regarding the US dollar. Some loose ends that need to be tied up before whoever really controls the world's governments can move on to the next phase of whatever they're planning.
So there's an energy to this card of leaving loose ends and also clues for whoever's trying to deceive us. And in this case, the people in charge are trying to deceive our citizens. So, however, it's not necessarily being done in a very thoughtful manner. And whoever really takes the time to look into how the system works will discover how the US dollar is basically just smoke and mirrors. For our gateway card, we got the Nine of Swords, and the gateway is really the key to everything. And in this case, people are really waking up from what was once known as the American dream, and by doing this, people will discover that it's actually a nightmare. But really, truly looking the truth in the face is the only way for the collective to start waking up and start going through this transition.
There needs to be a pause in the momentum of the economic transition we're going through, a period to rest and regroup. This will seem more like a nightmare than a relaxing nap because of how chaotic the situation is going to be. The more we're attached to the current system, the more traumatic its implosion will be.
So for our root card, we got the Queen of Pentacles. Now, this is the root for the current situation, and it's actually pretty good news.
Yeah, there seems to be some faction behind the powers that are driving this upcoming economic transition that have been motivated by compassion rather than just greed for more money and power. These people, they don't seem to be the controlling group, but they seem to be a rebel group within that power structure. They seem to have genuinely benevolent motives. and they're working behind the scenes to do some good in the situation.
So even though there will be great discomfort coming from this, and that's inevitable in this kind of transition, there might also be good forces behind the downfall. So yeah, good news overall. In our first position, we got the High Priestess modified by the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords is really telling us that we need to remove our blindfolds and make an informed decision. We can either continue to embrace a dysfunctional system that's falling apart, or find the courage to embrace whatever is next, even if it's not completely clear to us yet. So really making a decision now for us and our loved ones is truly the only way that we can reclaim our freedom, and making the right decision, of course.
What we fear we don't understand, and most of us understand very little about the way our economic system works, making it mysterious and threatening. It was designed that way. The economic system really isn't that complex, but the language around it is deliberately confusing to discourage us from understanding how it really works.
So basically being asked now as a collective whether we want to go down with a sinking ship, or if we're going to really rethink what value means to us. So it's important that we make sure, it's important that we make sure that our families are safe and stop seeing money as our God and the means to all our ends. In our desire position, we got the Ace of Wands, and it's modified by the King of Swords. And I believe the Ace of Wands really speaks to us desiring a future, a new beginning, where it's truly our passion that provides for us. We've been living in a world where people are living from paycheck to paycheck, and oftentimes doing work that's very unsatisfying. And deep down what people want is to spend their time on something that's fulfilling, that also provides them with their basic physical needs.
We ache to regain control of our lives, to reclaim our passion for living, but we're hoping for some outside figure to provide our salvation. Some politician or guru has all the answers and can tell us exactly what to do. That's not going to happen. We need to take ownership of our own lives. We need to be the heroes of our own stories.
The King of Swords really speaks to how only true truth and taking authority of our own lives, meaning saying no to the system that's really kept us prisoners for so long. That's how we're going to get our new beginning. In our present moment, we got the Page of Wands, and this page is a young, curious, passionate energy that's really eager to move forward on his mission. And this is a fiery page. He's not really afraid to embark on a new journey or to make radical changes. And it speaks of fresh ideas, of fearlessness, which is truly what we're being asked to embrace at this moment in time. So instead of panicking of what's falling away, we're being asked to look at it with fresh eyes. At the same time, the pages are inexperienced, so we've gotten very used to relying on this dysfunctional system. So we'll encounter some lessons and difficulties as we start to imagine how we want the future of exchange of resources to look like.
The time is right for us to begin the process of revitalizing our passion. The system in which we earned our livings by working long hours to pay for luxurious things that we didn't have time to use is coming to an end. We need to take the first steps towards being the masters of our own lives rather than slaves in the lives of someone else.
So for the astrological energies, we got Temperance, modified by the Nine of Wands. And Temperance really speaks of mending elements. It's asking us to take our higher knowing and our understanding of the current situation, not to say how this game all works, and to really integrate it as we move forward. This card also speaks of moderation and patience. So I believe that even though some people want to keep the dollar and the old system and others want it to collapse like a tower, we really are given this time, this buffer time, to take practical steps while there's still time to do so. So overall, it's a message to stay calm and centered and trust the process without being passive, and really doing what is needed at this time. And we'll feel a little bruised in the process of doing this, but we'll ultimately we'll get there.
Although this is time for us to act, we need to proceed carefully and use the patience advised by the Temperance card. Even then, the Nine of Wands tells us that this won't be an easy battle. If we understand our real power and harness that power rather than react in anger, we'll get through this and come out the other side the winners. Both Temperance and the Nine of Wands correspond with Jupiter, and right now the most significant transit involving Jupiter in the dollar's chart is Uranus, exactly in trine with Jupiter. This fortunate transit brings a sense of freedom and courage to seek out new experiences, to make our lives experiments to discover what's possible if we dare look outside the boxes in which we've placed our thoughts, motivating us to escape from the routines that are killing us in our lives of external restrictions. Seems the universe is giving us the strength to harness our collective power and emerge on the winning side of this economic chaos.
For our internal future, we got the Six of Pentacles, and this is also referred to as our psychological future. This card speaks of generosity and a fair way of giving and receiving, and I believe this really refers to the overall desire of our society, what we're manifesting right now. So rather than having a world where all the resources which have been hijacked by the US dollar, we as a collective, the non-1% elite of us, deep down wish for equality and fairness in the distribution of money.
Resources built around the collapsing dollar are disappearing. Prices aren't going up. The cost of things is not doubling. The value of the dollar is collapsing, but they're hiding that. The dollar is being replaced by resources that we carry within ourselves. The death of the current system will be traumatic, but it's an opportunity to not just build a new system, but to move beyond systemic hierarchy entirely. We're being given power in the form of inspiration and ideas that can help us achieve undreamed of levels of peace and freedom.
And we'll eventually, if we do follow the advice of Temperance, arrive at a place where we have a good relationship with our resources and when they are truly contributed fairly within our communities. For our future card, we got the Eight of Swords, and this card really speaks of terror, feeling trapped, feeling fear, and powerlessness.
The collapse of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency will mean the collapse of market-based economics as we know it. The ensuing chaos will make us feel trapped, but we need to realize that we're our own prison wardens. Our cages only exist in our own minds. If we remove our blindfolds, we'll see this as an unprecedented opportunity to move into a new way of living.
For our final outcome, we got the Knight of Wands, and it's modified by the Five of Pentacles.
Many of us will use the patience of temperance and not succumb to the impetuosity of the Page of Wands. We'll mature into the Knight of Wands, enabling us to bring about a new dimension of living. Unfortunately, many people will be left behind. Those who remain attached to the market-based economic system will feel trapped in the hellish mental prison presented in the Eight of Swords.
So overall, to summarize, the cards are asking us to confront our fear of the High Priestess, this strange system that we've been taking part of for such a long time, and really make a firm decision of which side we want to be of this economic collapse. So we can either get stuck in victimhood and see our life savings being reduced to nothing, can continue working in jobs that we despise, or we can make wise investments, start something new, and make tangible plans of how we'll continue in this new future and make sure we're safe and sound when shit hits the fan. So there's going to be a strange and lagging period ahead of us, but ultimately the more we stay informed and dare to believe in a new and better system, the better we'll come out of this on the other side. So for now, I believe everyone should start taking the energy of the Page of Wands and really make the necessary preparations and adjustments. And that means start thinking more deeply about what value means to us, what we do value in life, and what fulfills us, and how we are going to contribute to society. What would be our personal mission here? What fulfills us? What skill sets do we have that could be useful in the future? So I think that's all we have to say for today. We're thinking about doing more videos like this where we do readings for world events, situations, and even countries. So if there's anything you're interested to know about when it comes to the collective, comment below and we'll see if we can do a video on it.
We hope this reading has provided some useful insights and information that you can use navigating these difficult economic waters. If you'd like a personal reading, please contact us via email or WhatsApp. The links are listed below.
We hope to see you in our next video.